Hello everyone and welcome to Tips and Clips, and I believe this is number 6. Now today I've got a few tips for you, a little bit of a clip at the end, and also we've got today's Green Tipster as well. So I hope you enjoy this. Don't forget to subscribe if you like what I'm doing here, then you won't miss any of my future content. Right, there's a couple of little tips I can give you here. The first one is about these weeds, which I'll get to in a minute, but the first one is that patch of algae over there. What happens in winter is the sun's angle sort of drops down in the sky, and for me the sun rises over there, it sets behind me, that doesn't change, but the sun's angle will come down much lower, and these areas where the algae is on become super important because they're taking away whatever light is already coming through there. And I just wanted to show really that just by using a bit of water and no chemicals, this stuff will come off. You can buy specialist cleaners for this, but why spend it when water will do it for you? I mean, that's all that's in there, and that'll soon take that algae off. I mean, what I'll do when I do all of this is I'll go over it and wet the whole area, go and do something else, come back, wash it off, job done, and you've got maximum sunlight coming through. Now the other one is these weeds, obviously I mentioned earlier. Now my weeding, I know you can get sort of Dutch hose which you push along through the soil. This is mine, and this is called a SWOE, S-W-O-E. It's got a cutting edge front and back and at the side. Now I know you can also get the oscillating hose which cuts going forward and coming back, and the oscillating hose will do the same thing. But what they won't do is get in between plants like that, and that's why I use this. Now the other thing with these weeds is that I'm seeing these on a daily basis, and they soon grow, and because you're seeing them on a daily basis you don't notice the actual growth of them. So just by getting rid of them you're solving that problem, because if you're not noticing them growing, before you know where you are, they're too tall and you're actually having to physically dig them out of the soil. And I'll show you what I mean outside right now. So this is one of my no dig beds outside, and this is where a situation where the weeds have grown up far too quickly, and if this was on soil it would be a nightmare. You'd have to get in here with a fork or a trowel to dig them out, and obviously we've got plants growing. Fortunately for me, we're on no dig, and with very little effort I can just pull them out quite easily and go through this, and it'll take me 10-15 minutes. Would have taken me less time if I'd hoed it a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't for various reasons, so now I've got to physically pull them out. But they do come out in no dig, so that's the thing. But if this was soil, like the bed inside, and they got to this size, if they got to that size, you'd be talking a whole different game altogether. So there we go, that's a tip for you. This tunnel was put up in 2016, and almost immediately it was dug over very well, and a lot of rotted farmyard manure went into all these beds, and since then I've done nothing with them really. As I've planted plants over the years, I have always fed them with bloodfish and bone, and that was always my go-to staple. But I've changed a bit over the last few years, and what I've been doing certainly in the last couple of years is making a compost tea. Basically it's nice and simple. You put your materials into your water and then you brew it for a couple of days, but you've got to aerate it, either stir it every couple of hours, or like I do, use an air stone. And that's why it's never appeared on video, because I always do it at home in a barrel for the power for the air pump. And then what that does is it multiplies the bacteria and the microbes within that tea, and then you water that on here, and then they start to work in your soil, and they start to live, eat, go to the toilet if you like, and that feeds your soil and therefore feeds your plants. And that's a brilliant thing. As I say, I'll do that twice a year, early spring and early autumn. And that's been working really well for me. None of these plants have been fed per se, and none of the plants that were in this bed for the last year and a half have been fed, apart from with this compost tea treatment twice a year. But there's a new product on the market and it's called Super Soil, and I've been sent a little bit by Steve Digwell Greenfingers, and I know a lot of you will know him, and a lot of you will have seen his Super Soil trial he did last year on YouTube. Didn't come to my attention immediately. I watched the video, but what tends to happen is when something new comes on the market, you're skeptical, and you have to be in the right frame of mind to accept it on board. I watched it, saw the results and thought, yeah, well, that's fair enough. But anyway, Steve has sent me some, and he sent me quite a bit actually, so thank you very much, Steve, for this. This is very much appreciated. But there's like 20 grams in there, and it's black as black, and it's well wrapped for a reason, because apparently it does get everywhere if you're not careful with it. And you only need 1 gram of that, which is roughly half a teaspoon, there or thereabouts. When I use it, I will measure it on a proper little tiny set of scales, to 1 litre of water, and that will do 40 square metres. This polytunnel is 20 square metres, so you know, very, very tiny amounts to douse your soil with the microbes that your soil needs to become alive and feed your plants. And I'm going to run some tests on it through this winter. They won't work as effectively as they would do in the spring or the summer, and I'll be using this now on a few tests, and of course in the spring as well. But to make that 1 litre spin out over this area and other areas that I tend to use it in, I'm going to use it in, Steve is this week's Green Tipster, and he's done a little clip which I'm going to run for you now so that you can see how he does it. That's his Green Tipster for tip of the week.
Well, you're right guys, just come up the leaf and ground plot. I've been converting 2 beds into 1, so I'll just show you down here, look. So underneath this spent potato compost was 2 quite narrow beds with a little path in between, and I filled them all in to make 1 big bed. So I'm going to dose it with some super soil. Now those of you that follow me will know that I love this stuff. It works for me. I've done several trials and I am well impressed. So let me just show you a tip on how I apply the super soil to my area. Okay then, so here's a pouch of super soil, 100 grams, and it treats 1 acre. Let's call an acre 4,000 square metres, so 100 grams treats 4,000 square metres, 1 gram treats 40 square metres. Got it? Just rough figures. My plot, this little plot here, is about 80 square metres, so I need 2 grams. And to get the required dose of 1 to 1,000, that's 1 gram to 1,000 grams of water, 1 gram to a litre, so I need 2 grams for 80 square metres, so that's 2 grams in the 2 litres of water. As if by magic, I have 2 litres of water in a watering can, and I know from prior experience that my little scoop is about 2 grams. Good enough. There we are, look. It's not an exact science, you can't overdose, but if you do overdose, you're probably wasting money. So in we go with that. I'm going to put this to one side because it's dirty stuff, it goes everywhere. Give it a good mix up, and it will be as black as black. Look at that. You can't see it, but look. Right then, so I'm going to show you how not to apply it. Now this watering can has a fairly fine rose, so you'd think, there we are then. Now the trouble with that is, there's no way this 2 litres is going to go over 80 square metres. It'll be finished in 2 beds. So what we do is this, back to the water trough. So what I'm going to do is pour this into a sprayer. Back to the bed. And there we are, nice and easy to apply. Doesn't matter if you miss a bit, because the microbes, etc. in here, they spread like mad. In fact, they double every hour, I think it is. And that, what I've just done with the sprayer, is enough for this bed, which is about 2 by 3 metres. And now I've got enough left to do the rest of the plot. and the house plants and the potatoes in containers and so on. Right then, I'm going to use the rest of that sprayer up on the other beds, and obviously some of them are planted. Don't worry if you get the super soil liquid on the plants, it won't matter. It might do them some good if anything. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Look after yourselves and take care.
Thank you so much for that, Steve. Steve is both an interesting man and a very good gardener, and his tips are blooming brilliant. I'm very pleased that he's done that for us. So I've got me 1 gram of super soil in here and 1 litre of water, and the test I'm going to do is I've got these rows of plants in all these 4 bed compartments, and the front half I'm just going to dose with the super soil. I'm not going to dose the back, and we'll see as time goes on. And I'm keeping to this side of those plants rather than chancing giving them a dose as well. I'll do that all along. Now Steve got his own YouTube channel, and I would heartily recommend that you go over, if for nothing more, just to say thanks. But go over and subscribe over there, because as I say, he's a very good gardener, and his tips, listen to the man, listen to what he's got to say, because his tips come out in just his normal speak and you have to search for them, but his tips are there and they're fantastic. He also is a very, very good cook, and he does a lot of quick cooking videos on his channel. Very well worth watching. I recommend him. So go over. I'll put a link to his super soil trial in the description underneath, and a link to his channel. And Steve, thanks again, both for the sample and for the video clip that's appeared in here showing us all how to use it. Much appreciated, mate. So I must stress that this super soil, it's not a fertilizer. You're actually putting life into your soil, and that life is what creates the feed that feeds your plants. There is so much more to this. I mean, for instance, the product actually claims to actually add humus to the soil by the living and dying and living and dying. So poor soil can actually get humus in it over a period of time. You need faith for that, and you need to wait and be patient. But that's just one of the claims of the product, you know. I'm more interested in testing how this actually works for each given plant. So this front bit that I've done here should show me within, I would expect by maybe November, December. At this time of year, it's going to slow down. In the warmer part of the year, it says that you should see results in 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see. We'll be looking at it from 2 to 3 weeks up until Christmas, I think, somewhere where we might, or we should, see results. Thanks again to Steve, both for the sample and for the clip. Don't forget to go and have a look at his channel and subscribe over there. Thank you all for watching. That's it for today. Thanks again. Take care. Stay safe. See you all very soon. Ta-ra now.